Talk. We're a weekly podcast where WordPress product founders share what's working, what isn't, and what they've learned the hard way. Today we've got Blake Whittle on to talk about, buying plugin businesses as an agency, recurring revenue, the fun stuff that we're all looking for. So we'll dive into that. Thank you.
This is WP Product Talk, a place where every week we bring you insights, product marketing, business management and growth, customer experience, product development, and more. It's your go-to podcast for WordPress product owners by WordPress product owners. And now, enjoy the show.
All right. I'm going to get the intro right one of these times. I'm going to give me like 5, 6, 10 more. We'll get there. Before we get started, sorry, go for it.
I love the mildly awkward intro. I think it's great.
Yeah, I've been doing it for the whole time at this point. It's just going to keep it going. Before we get started, folks, if you benefit from WP Product Talk, we'd love your support. Best thing to do, hit subscribe. Do we have like a specific, where's the, no, it's just
the moon, 20 million is what we're looking for right now, folks. Just keep it coming.
Yeah, all right. That's 20 million. Nothing less will be acceptable. It's perfect. Thanks so much for that. Yeah.
Yeah, and big thanks to Freemius for being our exclusive growth partner who's been helping us all along the way here. Freemius helps software makers grow, monetize, and succeed. They handle your checkout and your payments, subscriptions, your licensing, your updates, your global tax compliance. That alone is worth its weight in gold. So you can focus on building amazing products instead.
Yeah, awesome. And I guess we'll jump into today's topic then. It's what agency owners need to know before buying a plugin business. Every agency is told they need recurring revenue. It's the escape hatch, feast and famine, all that service business stuff. So, the problem, of course, is building a successful plugin or plugin business does take a long time and a lot of work. So our guest today, Blake, has, story to tell. He's done some acquisitions, been an agency, and we're going to find out from Blake, the good, the bad, and the fun. Welcome, Blake.
Hey, everyone.
Actually, share who you are and a little bit about, what got you into considering acquiring a plugin in the first place.
Yeah, so I've owned my agency since 2017. Founded it when I was a freshman in college, and I did it part-time at the time. Fast forward a couple of years, I graduated from college, went full-time with my agency, and we were just growing. And then AI hit in late 2022, 2023, and everyone's kind of talking about how agencies are doomed, this and that. And so I had the thought in my head of well, I should diversify. And that's where I really started looking into what it would take to purchase a plugin business and what it would take to get a plugin off the ground. I kind of went, I had lots of thoughts in my head about, of course, going down the route of building our own plugin versus acquiring. I had already owned an agency for some time. I was busy with day-to-day operations there. I didn't really have the time to take a gamble of building a plugin from scratch and seeing if it pays off. So acquiring a plugin is where it made the most sense for me, and I went from there.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I got a lot of thoughts myself. My business, Kestrel, we did mostly through acquisition. We built a few things ourselves. So I definitely understand where you're coming from. But thanks again for coming on, and again, for anyone watching live on YouTube, leave comments, questions below. We'll highlight some, actually live anywhere, wherever you
Live
see
anywhere.
this. Yeah, perfect. So you did say a little bit about, you've been running the agency for a while. I think that the time constraint is really something that'll resonate with basically anybody, whether they're running an agency or starting from scratch, right? Going from 0 to 1 being the hard part. Could you share a little bit more about what made, buying an established product more attractive for you than starting from scratch?
Yeah. So the thought of having existing revenue already there made it a lot more attractive for me. It was also built out already, so we didn't have to find all the bugs that typically come with the launch of a new product. And there was no time to see, or there was less of a gamble because I didn't have to wait the typical time it takes to see if a plugin actually is validated within the market and can be a sustainable and growable plugin. It was already proven, so that's what made it more attractive for me.
100%. I can relate to that. I mean, being a product person, I loved the reliability of products in general. And before I was doing product, I was doing freelancing, and I really struggled with the part about running the business part. I loved building the websites, but trying to keep the lights on was always a struggle that I didn't enjoy. Now I'm back in the agency life again, and I'm remembering why I like product so much. I mean, I'm enjoying the work a lot, but going back and forth on all these things, it is interesting.
Yeah, it actually surprises me to hear a little bit that the business part, you like the websites more than the business. I'm not.
This was ages ago. I've grown a lot. I've changed a lot. I've had a lot of life experience since then. Yeah, it at the time I was fascinated by HTML and CSS, and I was always going deep on all that stuff. But things are different now. It feels like a totally different world. So
yeah, the tinkering part is always fun, right? So,
yeah.
Blake, as far as the again, revenue obviously is a big part of it, right? Like something that was going to be able to be somewhat self-sustaining, have people, have help, whatever, the ability to grow it from the base of its own revenue. But like, why? We'll share a little bit more about what you acquired as your first big acquisition and why you chose that specifically, I guess.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I had already known about infinite uploads because I had seen it from Aaron Edwards, who's the person that I bought it from. I've just seen him share stuff about it on X and whatnot, and I've seen it. And I remember probably 2 years before I even bought infinite uploads, I remember having the thought to myself that would be a great plugin to have. And I liked it because it was a hybrid model of a plugin and a SaaS. So there was the infrastructure aspect behind it as well, which for some weird reason, infrastructure I just love. I love having scalable cloud systems and whatnot. So it just made me excited. So I loved it way before I had already wanted to acquire it. And I recall asking myself as well, if I can't acquire infinite uploads, should I just build my own? And I went down the route of acquiring infinite uploads because it did miraculously come up for sale. But there was that thought in my head to build it from scratch and start from zero, essentially.
So as like an agency owner, you'd already experienced the problems the product served, I guess is what I'm hearing a bit there.
A bit, yeah. With hosting needs and video storage and stuff like that, we're constantly having to, or we were constantly having to increase our server storage and whatnot with our hosts. And some hosts aren't very friendly about that. They require you to scale up your CPU and RAM and whatnot rather than just storage space. So it definitely solved a problem there with the agency side as well.
And I guess then something that I find interesting is that the infrastructure was like actually attractive to you. Like there's all the work and the effort that comes with, uptime and stability and performance and all that traditionally as an agency, you're already on call. So I guess that's not the end of the world necessarily. But I mean, there is a lot more, there's alerts and things going off now. Like, how did you first start transitioning from, actually, when you acquired it, was there enough revenue to make all that work worthwhile? I guess is my question.
Yeah, yep. There definitely was, and I think that we are fortunate in the way, because the agency, we can use the agency profits to put more than what we're making into infinite uploads. Which, if you're starting out from square one, you're bootstrapped, you don't even have an agency, maybe you don't have that extra money. If you have an MRR of $50 a month, you can't really spend a whole lot of marketing. Whereas the agency, we can pull funds from the agency and spend a lot more money on marketing than what the plugin is making. So in a way, it's kind of an unfair advantage of having an agency and then a product as well, because it's just, we can just spend more as it is.
Yeah, I mean, distribution being the challenge we all face. Something that you said a bit earlier that really caught me, actually, and this is probably my own, my own missing something here. You said it was like 2023 when, AI was the panic for agencies. I mean, that wasn't even what I was paying attention to then. If you could, was that the thing that actually drove you to look for the product business? Like what? Maybe Cromwell, if you want to expand on this idea, were you paying attention way back then?
I mean, there was also like, that's when Bertha AI was really trying to pick up a lot, honestly, in terms of like AI in a product. Andrew Palmer and Vito were putting that out there. And honestly, at the time, I was like, well, that's cute. Like to me, it didn't seem like it had all that much promise. And I was also like, I don't know if I even want that in my admin all that much, or in my post edit screen and things like that. So it was like, oh, this is something that might eventually evolve and be interesting, but at that time, to me, it wasn't. It wasn't all that scary. But maybe I wasn't reading the tea leaves the same way Blake was. I'm not sure. So.
Yeah, I think back then it was just the whole AI is going to take over everything, and we're all going to be out of a job. So I just wanted to diversify everything, and of course, things have evolved further in terms of what AI is doing for agencies and whatnot. But yeah, back then it was kind of AI is scary. AI is going to take over everything.
Totally. I mean, I think agencies often are always on the lookout for how to diversify revenue streams, when, especially if you have like a big monthly retainer client that is making up, a huge portion of your revenue. It's always like, well, this doesn't feel safe at all. And so I can imagine that, besides trying to make sure that you have multiple different good retainer clients, you probably also are like, what if I can bring in this totally different revenue stream to mix things up and make it feel more stable? Which I like that a lot. I mean, one question I have, Blake, is that, even when we were launching Give forever ago, we had agency work that we were also doing. And for us, there was this curve of like, once product gets so good, essentially, then we're going to probably start winding down agency work over time. And it took us years to do that. Is that what you're intending to do? Are you hoping that product is going to be the 110% of everything you do? Or do you really like the balance of like product and agency work?
Yeah, I go back and forth a lot, but I really like the agency side of things as well. So right now, I think I'm set on both are running full steam ahead. I'm not trying to wind down one or the other. But what I think when the plugin really grows enough to have revenue that exceeds the agency, it kind of gives me that power, in a sense, to perhaps fire a couple of clients on my agency that aren't that profitable, or I don't or I don't like as much. So it just gives me more flexibility. And going back to what Shoot, lost my train of thought.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, actually, we have a good question here in the comments too from Marcus. He's asking, what AI making it easier to build plugins yourself? Where do you think the line is for a plugin you should buy instead? I think that's a really good question overall. What's your take on that, Blake?
Yeah, I think that if a plugin does not have a SaaS component to it, I think that it's a no-go in terms of buying it. I think that we are seeing plugins being built in one shot with AI, especially utility type plugins are being built so easily these days. I think if a plugin just has code in a zip file, I wouldn't buy it. But if there's a SaaS component to it where it relies on your infrastructure, I think that it's something worth looking into.
It's so interesting. I mean, I don't blame you for that assessment at all. I've also heard so much of the opposite assessment, like that the AI is threatening SaaSes more than anything else right now. Like, and I mean that perspective is always about like the big behemoth SaaSes like HubSpot or Jira or whatnot, like folks that have been tied to paying thousands of dollars a month to these big SaaSes that they can basically vibe code nowadays, and have something bespoke for their team that costs them, maintenance, of course. But I don't know. There's two sides to that coin for sure. So I mean, if I had just like a WooCommerce extension shop, I would be scared to death.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Yeah, no, I mean, I think there's something. I mean, Marcus is asking the big question for everybody, actually, right? And actually, that's why I think the whole agency versus plugin business is whether those are truly separate in the long run is what I keep thinking about, actually, right now. There's something problematic there because, for us as a suite of extensions, working closely with a number of agencies that just bring every site and, they add more and more licenses. That's been one of the primary ways we grow. But I mean, the thing is, actually, this goes back to your talk at something. Was it the own the problem, not the solution? Like, you identify, what it is that you're actually solving, and who cares how you solve it might become more and more the future of that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it can go both ways. I think there's a lot of ways in which services can end up accelerating product sales. And I think products can be really good onboarding into services. And I think that line, or that, multifaceted approach to solving customer problems, I think folks are going to get more and more savvy about that kind of thing.
Yeah, I do want to add one more thing, though. Is the whole, we got a lot of pretty much utility plugins, right? And I will say, like, those have slowed significantly for sure. But the ones that had strong distribution are still doing quite well. I mean, ultimately, people, there is some of our extensions, like I'm sure infinite uploads among them, but like, Checkout WC as an example. Like, go vibe code a checkout. Like, honestly, you'll spend just as much on tokens, and you won't have a support team and a team of people looking to improve and expand upon it for you, and like that won't actually be cost effective. Now we do have some small stuff like a progressive discounts plugin. They're like, I mean, Claude can do that, but also it's like $50 or something. You know what I mean? Like, you feel free to go do it, or if you want help, it's here too. And we've always sold support plans. I mean, legally speaking, it was always a support plan, right? So, just lean in, enjoy it.
Yeah. We actually had that really good example recently from Jess at Woosa. She actually decided to, and I think we brought this up last week too. We need to get her on the show, but she has a good mix of both product and services. And kind of made a decision to wind down a lot of the product in order for products to benefit services more. And I thought that was a really interesting model. And it was definitely the way that she talked about that whole change and that whole update was definitely related to a lot of the things you're talking about, Blake, the way in which AI has been an opportunity and a threat to the existing business in different ways. So they made that big pivot, and it seems like you made the pivot several years ago already, kind of preempting any kind of thing. So right now, years later now, and with AI being way more threatening than it was before, you feel like you made the right decision? Do you feel more secure right now? Do you feel less secure right now? Like,
Yeah, I would say that I definitely feel very secure right now. I had a teacher at one point tell me that my revenue stream should be like a chair. A chair can't stand on one leg, a chair can't stand on two legs, but three legs or more, you
yeah,
can sit on a chair.
yeah,
So that's what I like to do with my business is have different legs. And sure, with inside of the agency, I can have or I can sell SEO services and this service and that service. But that's to me all in the same leg. It should be the agency, other thing, and then wherever else you can find revenue at. And I think as well, going back to what we were discussing before, I don't know much about it, but there's software as a service, but then now there's service as a software, which I think is what you were
yeah,
talking about, Matt.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think more and more folks are thinking about it that way. We'll see some of that evolve over time in different ways, but like I think actually, Aaron Edwards from DocSpot, even the way that DocSpot is definitely a product. It's product first, 100%, but there is actually a lot of work that is involved in supporting a really strong support bot. And just like buying the product alone sometimes might not be enough. Like I've seen little hints here and there that they might be offering some sort of services to complement the product. So I think that's what I'm saying. I think it can really go multiple ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of our newer stuff, we do have service stuff. We're not promoting it actively. We don't have like front of site big listings or whatever. And like they're productized services. So we're not out here going to do agency work. But as the more new things we put out there, I mean, we've always gone up above and beyond in support anyways. But there is sort of that line where you used to send them off elsewhere that like, I mean, if you can just do it, just do it, and maybe charge a little bit for the things that are way beyond what like a $59 a year license can reasonably support, right?
Yeah, for sure. And what we've done as well is we've taken a lot of our client-centric philosophies from our agency and applied them to our customer support of our plugin business. At our agency, we love to go the extra mile for our customers and making it crystal clear, almost doing everything for them. And we take that same approach with our plugin as well of going the extra mile to just do it for the person at no extra charge, because that kind of goes back into the whole, it's our infrastructure, we own the entire stack, we're responsible for it. So we take ownership of the entire stack, and then further even.
Yeah, and have you found like since the acquisition, has the agency done more to like funnel people into the product, or has the product done more to funnel people into the agency? Like, is there an unfair advantage you've gained on either side?
Yeah, with the agency, what's so cool about that is I get to see pretty much on a daily basis of how people are using WordPress, interacting with WordPress, etc. And these are not developers, designers, etc. They're just a secretary at a law firm or something like that. So using that data that I passively just see, I then influence our plugin decisions based off of that, of what people need, what are people's pain points, and most importantly, we have to make it extremely simple. I love Steve Jobs and his simplicity with things and everything like that, and that has kind of been my guiding principles with everything I do. Is it has to be really simple.
Yeah, I agree. We have another good question here from Marcus again. Since you all are in the plugin space, are you seeing people value the human support enough to buy? Like, is there an opportunity to just offer support for people's own vibe coded plugins? I think it's a good one. It's interesting. I don't know. I don't know if I would love that work or hate that work. I'm not sure. Ian, what's your take? I know you all are very support driven over at Kestrel.
Yeah, I mean, I do support like every day. I enjoy it, and I like the opportunity to talk to people. And actually, very similarly to what Blake just said, it's like, every decision we make on the product is just we talk to 30 people about it, and then eventually we do stuff, right? So, it's good. The idea of people paying for just that, I've played with, and I don't know if I think it'll work. And I have no testing done here. I will share a little bit of an anecdote though with Checkout WC again, which is a lot of people, because we are like the checkout surface for their store, they do just treat us as like support. And like it's not that different from what like a host gets, just random questions about it's your WordPress now to these people. And we just kind of do it though, because ultimately their success means they'll pay longer, or they'll stick around longer or whatever. So I guess to tie that into an actual answer to Marcus's question is, I think just make your product cost enough to justify doing it anyways, is the way I think about that.
Yeah.
I don't know. What about you?
I mean, I'm actually working closely with a company called NerdPress. I don't know if you all have heard of them. They provide support services and maintenance, I mean, supports their whole model by and large. It's tied really carefully with services, I would say. So they're making sure that the website is backed up all the time, and they're running the plugin updates and tweaking the DNS and doing a lot of things on the regular. But then they include what they call quick support requests, QSRs. And at the lower levels, they get like 5 of those a month. And up at the higher levels, you can ask how many QSRs you want per month. So it is by and large very much a complete support service, I would say. And they do really well overall. But they're extremely high touch, extremely human driven. I think Marcus's question is like, NerdPress is the answer to that question. Really, really clearly, and they do a really good job. So I've been really impressed with the team.
I'm not super familiar with them in particular. I know Barrel Roll does something similar. It's like a really high-end maintenance plan, though, right? Like it's sort of like traditional agency maintenance plans aren't that different, but you care less
there
about
are
scope, right?
similar ones like WP Buffs is out there as well, or SiteCare is another one. These are ones that you might be more familiar with, but.
Yeah, and Blake, what's your take? Like, do you guys do maintenance plans and that sort of thing, like support packages, or is it purely just like retainers with agency clients and that sort of thing?
Yeah, we definitely have maintenance plans and whatnot on the agency side of things, but for infinite uploads, it's all included within their subscription. Virtually unlimited support, and it's kind of hard to vibe code or make edits to infinite uploads, because if they break something, we have the stance of if they modify the infinite uploads plugin, we do not support that because we don't know what they've done. We just can't get into that business because it would just be way too costly for us to figure out what their Claude did.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, sorry, finish it. Yeah.
Oh no, go.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that was something really interesting about Marcus's question to me, is that we are getting a lot more and more support requests that you can just see they've already done the work with Claude or ChatGPT, and without all the underlying context to get the right answer. But the sheer confidence is incredible.
It's like a 3-page long support request. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, with all of the hallmarks of legitimacy, of course, right? Very confidently. And it's like, again, like I get it. And like, there's like aspects of it that's to the point of, would you want to do that as the primary business? I think that's going to get messier and messier as time goes on, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. There might be a real opportunity here. I mean, it's kind of the whole like with great power comes great responsibility. Like just because you have AI and it can do all these things doesn't mean that it's actually going to be sustainable in the long term. So having
Mhm.
somebody in the
Yeah.
loop who actually knows what's going on and can like bail you out when you actually like vibe code yourself into a 500 error on your website might be worth looking into.
Yeah, that's why I'm so like the thing that I keep coming back to, and this is not just for this conversation, but the last several months is like the whole, the blending of the roles over time,
Mm,
products and services just sort of ending up in one lane feels
yeah,
like an inevitable outcome. Who knows how long it takes,
yeah.
but yeah.
Blake, do you have one question I have is like I like the synergy. I hate that word, but like it still sometimes really works. Anyway, I like the synergy between an agency that has a product and that somehow or another the agency clients benefit a lot from the product. Do you have it set up where like if you become a new client, you automatically get infinite uploads or something like that? Like, do you see that the product and the clients are kind of like compatible with each other in one way or another?
Yeah, they don't automatically get a license to infinite uploads if they're an agency customer, but we've had customers that have came to us and said that they want to start a membership website to sell their painting videos, and we obviously can't put them up on YouTube and stuff like that. And they had 600 gigs of
Oh my
videos.
gosh. Yeah.
So we put them all in infinite uploads on the site, and it handles them flawlessly for the customer. We built out the site, of course, so that was kind of cool in that we got to see both sides of it because we got to build out the site with Elementor and ACF and paid memberships pro and whatnot. But then we also got to use our own product and service to make it all come together and whatnot.
I hope you turned that into a good use case, or right?
It's a case study already, so
Case
that's
study.
good.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah, that's great. Good. Got to get in the marketing stuff, folks. So,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Has that led you to like specializing in the agency at all? Like, do you focus on those sorts of like large, content sites with any intention, or is that just when they come up?
Typically when they come up. Yeah.
hmm. Yeah, I bring that up because it's similar also again with NerdPress that they have a plugin that they also acquired called Hubbub. It's really good at doing all of the different like kind of like social promotions on your website. A lot of different ways to get people to engage with your content and push it out to different channels and things like that. And it works really well for them because their roots are that they started offering these maintenance services primarily to like food bloggers and travel bloggers, so content creators in one form or another. And this plugin came along, and it actually is a lot of compatible features with their client base. So they get to dog food their product themselves. They get to recommend it to their clients. They're supporting it, of course, all the time, and it actually works out really well to benefit both sides of the business, essentially. Um, but I think that kind of thing is also really interesting. Like me personally, like I'm running my agency that's mostly along the lines of coaching for product companies, of course, and I'm thinking of building out my own products in different ways. But as I've been trying to like double down on the actual work that I do for my clients right now, or my coaching clients in particular, I'm finding that a lot of the stuff that I offer is I'm offering advice on how to build product and how to grow your product and things like that. So I've started to actually develop tools for that. And a lot of it is kind of like white papers or like online generator type tools and things like that. They're not really products, but I'm treating them a lot like products. And I'm gonna be launching some of these things over the next little bit here. But for me, it's been a way that I'm able to productize some of my knowledge essentially, and then use that as maybe lead gen a little bit for the agency services. So I know that I don't have any of that stuff out and about yet for y'all to see, but a little soft announcement maybe. I don't know. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, it's the question of where those lines are. And I mean, actually, similar to what Marcus asked earlier, but actually more directly, like the, upcoming, as we progress and AI gets scarier and scarier, are you considering further acquisitions? Like you've done infinite uploads. Have you done many? Will you be doing more? Like, is that something you intend to do to grow?
I'm good for right now, but I am always passively looking. As said, if it's just a plugin, I'm not interested in it. But if there is a nice SaaS plugin hybrid that's out there that's for sale, yeah, I mean, I would take a look at it, especially if it revolves around the niche that Infinite Uploads is in, which is the media library and how users interact with media on a WordPress site. If it's something completely out there, no. But if it's within our niche, I'm definitely good for it.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm asking because I'm not sure my own answer myself. But like, what would you be evaluating? Like, first of all, like the SaaS component, so it can't just be thrown together with Claude. Sounds like something, right? But like, there is a bit more uncertainty in the market, I would say. And what sort of like considerations would you be making if you were to pursue something in the short term?
Yeah. I think you have to look at the financials of the of the product that you're acquiring. You have to look at the intellectual property, if there is any. How unique is it? Is it something that can easily be replaced? And then other relevant factors, like does the person that has the product that they're trying to sell you, do they have ownership of it? Because sometimes it's locked down with someone else that they bought it from, and sometimes it's tied up with existing debt that they've used to fund the business with, that they're trying to secretly offload to you and stuff like that. So you just have to really evaluate things carefully.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
I mean, I've talked with several different folks who have considered selling or have even pursued selling their product business in different ways and come across different kind of gotchas that prevent them from being able to sell. The biggest one is honestly, how mobile are your subscriptions, essentially, which subscriptions are extremely difficult to migrate to somewhere else. And so the play typically is like, I'm just going to give the acquirer the whole PayPal account or the whole Stripe account or whatnot. And I'll tell you, one thing I learned is that sometimes your country of residence doesn't actually physically allow that to actually happen. And that's really, really crazy and weird. That can sometimes happen. Ironically, this is actually another plug for our big growth partner. Like, honestly, if you are using Freemius, you can sign over your whole entire Freemius account, like just with a click, essentially. And that makes you being able to do Stripe and PayPal sales, but everything is portable over to the acquirer. It's actually pretty, I mean, that's basically how merchant of record works in general. So I think it's actually an interesting tidbit.
And PayPal's messier than it even sounds, actually. Specifically, PayPal is super unpleasant. I will just throw, Freemius is great for that. I will say it's a shortcoming of EDD more than most. The Woo solution that my team offers just uses Woo subscriptions, where your website handles the actual billing, and you got a token, basically, and that's with the site. So, I mean, that is definitely a big part of it. The thing that I always worry about most, and still worry about frequently, in fact, is the amount of very important knowledge that's very intangible that lives inside the original founder's head. How do you address that problem? How have you,
Yeah. So now I think it would be a lot simpler to evaluate a code base, because you can just take the code base and put it into Cursor or wherever and have it scan it for vulnerabilities and how well the code is documented and stuff like that. But this still mind boggles me today. But it's like, back when I acquired infinite uploads, that wasn't a thing yet. It was still Chat GPT in its infancy of, you type a question and it gives you an answer. There was no uploading or putting a whole code base into things. So I had one of my senior agency devs be on all of the calls with me. He took a look over the code, and then on our transition calls that I had with Aaron, I had Chat GPT come up with common questions that, you know, I should ask. So that's how I solved that problem. But there's always going to be some type of knowledge loss, I think, with every acquisition. Unfortunately, now with AI, we've been able to fill a lot of those gaps.
Yeah, it's true.
I worry less about the code base and more about the why it is that way. Like just more of a story than a question. It's just like the ultimately there's this thing of, you know, a product developed in many cases over many years, and, you know, you look at something and you're like, well, that's a very stupid thing. You know, like there's something that just doesn't make any sense at all, and then it's like, you know, you find out that is load bearing. You know, that's like a decision that was made for very good reasons that you don't know about. It's that underlying context that the code base doesn't have. That, I mean, I've acquired a lot of stuff, right? And, you know, there's a million. I find those every day, basically. And you know, it's like an XKCD comic of the spacebar heating. You know, we changed it. And I'll share a link or whatever. But that I don't know what to do with. And AI does make it feel easier, but it makes me worry even more. In fact, right? So,
yeah. I do think sometimes that, like, especially if you're buying a product from a founder, speaking as a very strong-headed founder myself, sometimes, you know, it's actually good to separate the product from the founder and give it all a good fresh look at everything, and just consider all of that stored knowledge and experience as legacy. Because sometimes the thing holding the product back the most is the founder being like, oh, I learned this lesson 10 years ago and I'm never doing that again. Well, it's, you know, it's not 10 years ago anymore.
Right.
So.
That is definitely also fairly valid. Yeah. Two things can be true on this one for sure.
Yeah.
And looking back then, Blake, is there anything that you think, well, I guess you knew Aaron when you did the acquisition, right? But so, I mean, that obviously helps a lot too.
Yeah. We did our acquisition over probably 9 months. So it went from the initial him posting it to us kind of going back and forth, and he and hawing if we actually wanted to go through with it on both sides. And then it kind of all came to fruition because we met at WordCamp US in Portland back in 24, and we got to sit down, get to know one and each other, build trust. We did an escape room at one of the after parties and whatnot. And, you know, we also sat down and looked over things as well. Like, he showed me the Stripe account, and yeah, I'm not lying about how much it's making, and here's how Infinite Uploads is structured on the back end and whatnot. So having that sit down in person experience and having that trust really helped a lot with the whole process.
Cool. That's great. Nothing like an escape room to seal the deal.
Yeah.
It's a really good ad for WordCamp US coming up, guys. You know, maybe
100%.
grab tickets or whatever. I mean, that's great, actually. I mean, that's much of what we acquired is people we had met at various events as well, right? And it's just sort of there's a lot less to worry about. You know, you still do due diligence, you still do the code base, you still, you know, get in to see what customers are saying and all that. But, you know, actually knowing the person helps a great deal for sure.
Yeah. If you would have told me 10 years ago that I would be wiring someone 5 figures that I met off of X, I would have told you that you were crazy. So it's just interesting how things just evolve and change, and trust is the ultimate factor with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I guess then, with knowing the space being very limited to, the like SaaS style connectors and all that. I mean, that really does reduce sort of the scope in the WordPress space, especially, right? Like that most things are plugins first and plugins only. It does make me wonder if, folks that are looking to acquire, hoping, looking to build something from scratch, hoping to be acquired one day, if maybe there's some potentially different decisions that people should consider there. Any thoughts from that? Because that's...
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking to sell something, definitely look to an agency, because an agency is going to have or should have the funds to be able uh, to finance the purchase, and agencies also work with a wide variety of clients, so that they are already well positioned within the ecosystem and client sphere and everything to sell a product to.
It's distribution being everything, right? They have people to talk to and to share it with.
Yep.
What have you been seeing, Cromwell? You're talking with a lot of various product builders and all that, right? Is there anything?
The feel I get is that most folks are feeling more and more that it's harder and harder to sell their business. That there's fewer and fewer buyers out there, and if there are buyers out there, they're only buying the things that look like they're growing on paper at minimum. Which, there are definitely folks who are growing, and actually we're tentatively working on a fun episode all about what the product teams that are growing are doing. So watch out for that one in September, I think. But that's the general vibe at the moment, and I think it's just kind of normal because of the uncertainty in the whole digital space at the moment. There's just so much uncertainty about what's going to survive and what's not going to survive, that it's hard to for anybody to have the confidence to buy at the moment.
Yeah. Like, I'm really confident in the fact that people will continue to want to offload the responsibility of things,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like that part I have very little concern around. And now the problem that I have around that actually has less to do with whether I believe it and more to do with whether everyone else believes it, right? It's
Yeah.
sort of there's sort of a period of uncertainty that I think is temporary myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess then typically we would go now through with a bit of a roundtable question as far as best advice, right? What we should, what you would share. I guess maybe the question in this case then, we'll start with you, Blake, but, an agency owner comes to you tomorrow and says that they're looking to buy a plugin business. They found one, they've already identified it. What are some things you would tell that person to do? Like what, the best, most important thing they should do before making an offer?
Yeah, I would say talk to someone about the plugin that is outside of your agency and maybe even outside of WordPress. My wife was an excellent sounding board for when I went through the process of purchasing Infinite Uploads, because she didn't understand what it like. She doesn't get tech, so if I could explain it well to her, then I understood what it was. I would also research the market that the plugin is in very well. Search high and low for everyone that is a direct or indirect competitor of that plugin. And then as well, before making an offer, I would make a detailed marketing plan and budget. I see far too often that people get so tied up in the code and the financials even that they forget that you have to market your plugin to death. Like that should be your number one priority, is marketing. Like don't make a development plan, don't make a feature roadmap yet. Just a marketing plan and a budget.
Love it.
Yeah. So how about you, Cromwell?
Yeah, I think if you're an agency and you're thinking about acquiring a plugin, I probably would back up just a little bit and just think about first what Blake was saying. your number one prerogative is diversifying your revenue streams, and focus on that. How are you going to do that exactly? A product might be a good way to do that, or maybe you just need to diversify the types of services that you already provide in different ways. Maybe package services instead of just kind of like big retainer services. I think that alone is a big one. But if you are going to jump into a product in one form or another, I think it would be really important to make sure and try to find a product that complements your services in one way or another. Try to find as much compatible ways that the product might benefit the services arm, or the services arm might benefit the product. I see too many folks who have gotten into product from the services side that it ends up splitting their attention, and it gets really, really, really hard to maintain both. They feel like every time they spend time on product, it sacrifices services, or every time they spend time on services, it sacrifices product. I think the only way to make that really work is if you got a big enough team to do both, or that both are benefiting each other in one form or another.
Yeah, no, I really like that. And actually, I would say the attention to each thing is very challenging, even if it is all products, frankly, right? So, yeah, so mine is actually Blake, you touched on part of what I had in mind here is the budgeting, the plan, what's the financials, not just on the spreadsheet today, but how you're going to grow the thing. I think though, it's like, yeah, definitely research the market, know who all the competitors are. But the thing that I do before, actually finishing any acquisition is I spend a weird amount of time literally reading as many support requests on that product as I possibly can, get access to the help desk, whatever. And, you can do all the math in the world, but the vibes matter just as much, right? And so seeing how people feel about it, seeing how it's been handled, whether you think you can do better as well is actually pretty important. So, definitely coming from a lens of my background there as well, though, right? It looks like we do have one more quick question I'm going to drop here for you, Blake, before we wrap it up here. So did Aaron's performance in the escape room influence your decision to acquire the plugin at
all? Yes, because I am terrible at doing an escape room. So he was a lot better than I was at doing it. So yeah, the fact that he was better than me at doing it made it seem like, yeah, this guy knows what he's doing.
The trick was he asked like 3 other possible acquisition folks to do the escape room, and you're the only one that said yes, and that's why you got the product.
That's awesome. Good system on both sides. So Blake, thanks so much for joining us then. Where do people find you and Infinite Uploads and all that? Where do they go to find you?
Yeah, the best place to find me would be on X and LinkedIn under my name. And then you can find out all the details about Infinite Uploads at infiniteuploads.com.
Awesome. And if you're enjoying these shows, again, hit the subscribe button on YouTube, Twitter, wherever you are, who cares? And, special thanks again to Freemius.
Yep. And next week, we are actually going to be interviewing Ross Marsali, and he's going to be talking about building beyond your expertise. That will be really interesting. I'm looking forward to that one. So,
yeah, awesome. Well, thanks, everybody, and thanks, Blake, for joining us.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
See you next time.